Excuse me, excuse me. Someone needs to check on the girl in 304. Right now. Marcus Webb's voice cut through the nurses' station chatter at 11:43 p.m. 3 nurses looked up from their computers, annoyed at the interruption. "We're in the middle of shift change," one of them said without looking up. "If there's a spill or—" "I'm not talking about a spill. I'm talking about a patient. The teenager in 304. Something's wrong." Now the nurse looked at him, really looked at him. Saw the gray janitor's uniform, the mop bucket beside him, the name tag that said, Marcus Environmental Services. "Sir, we have doctors monitoring all patients. If something was wrong, they're not seeing what I'm seeing." Marcus's voice was urgent but controlled. "Please. Just check on her. I think she's going into shock." The nurse sighed, clearly humoring the janitor. "And what makes you think?" "Because I was an army combat medic for 6 years before this." Marcus locked eyes with her. "And I know what shock looks like. Check her. Now." Something in his tone made the nurse move. She walked quickly toward room 304, Marcus following despite hospital protocol saying he shouldn't. The girl was 17, post-appendectomy, supposed to be recovering normally. The chart said stable. The monitors showed normal vitals. But Marcus had seen her skin color. Had noticed her breathing pattern. Had watched her for 3 minutes while cleaning the hallway and recognized something the doctors, doing their rounds, had missed. The nurse pushed open the door. The girl, blonde hair, pale face, expensive pajamas, was conscious but her lips had a blue tint. Her breathing was shallow, rapid. Her skin had that grayish pallor Marcus had seen too many times in combat zones. "Oh my God," the nurse breathed, immediately hitting the call button. "Code Blue, room 304. Code Blue. Subscribe now. What this janitor saw in 3 minutes saved a life doctors almost missed." Within seconds, the room flooded with medical staff. A doctor Marcus didn't recognize pushed past him, barking orders. "Get me her chart, what the hell happened? She was stable 20 minutes ago." "Internal bleeding," another doctor said, reading monitors. "Pressure's dropping. She's hemorrhaging. Or, now. Move." The controlled chaos of a medical emergency unfolded. The girl was on a gurney, being rushed down the hall toward surgery within 90 seconds. Marcus stood in the doorway, mop in hand, watching them disappear around the corner. "You." The first nurse, the one he'd alerted, grabbed his arm. "You saved her life. If you hadn't said something, we wouldn't have checked for another hour. She would have bled out internally. Is she going to be okay?" "I don't know. But she has a chance now because of you." The nurse squeezed his arm. "Thank you." Marcus nodded, went back to his mop bucket, and continued cleaning. Because that's what janitors do. They notice things, they clean up messes, and they go home at the end of their shift to kids who need dinner and homework help. He didn't think about it again until 3 days later when his supervisor called him into the office. "Marcus, someone wants to meet you. Have you ever noticed something everyone else missed? Comment below." The woman sitting in his supervisor's office looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Mid-40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored cream suit, dark hair pulled back, the kind of presence that made rooms feel smaller. She stood when Marcus entered, extending her hand. "Mr. Webb. I'm Victoria Lansing. You saved my daughter's life 3 nights ago." Marcus froze mid-handshake. "Your daughter? Sophia. Room 304. Post-appendectomy that became a surgical nightmare. The doctor said if you hadn't noticed she was in distress when you did." Victoria's composed expression cracked slightly. "She wouldn't have made it to surgery in time. I'm glad she's okay. I just did what anyone. You did what the doctors didn't do." Victoria's voice was firm. You saw what they missed. And I need to understand how. Marcus glanced at his supervisor, who looked as confused as Marcus felt about why a woman who clearly didn't belong in a hospital janitorial office was here. I was a combat medic. Army. 6 years deployed, mostly Afghanistan. You see enough field trauma, you learn to recognize the signs. Your daughter's skin color, her breathing pattern, I've seen it before. And now you're a janitor. It wasn't a question. And it wasn't judgmental, just a statement of fact that both of them knew didn't make sense. And now I'm a janitor, Marcus confirmed. I have a 7-year-old son. Single parent. This job has benefits, steady hours, and I'm home every night by 7. That matters more than the title on my paycheck. Victoria studied him for a long moment. What if I told you I could offer you something that gives you all of that, and actually uses your skills? Subscribe so you don't miss what this billionaire offered the janitor who saved her daughter. Victoria Lansing was the CEO and founder of Lansing Biotech, a pharmaceutical company worth $4.7 billion. She'd built it from nothing after her husband died, leaving her with a toddler and medical school debt. She knew what it meant to fight your way up from the bottom. And she recognized talent when she saw it, even when it was holding a mop. I'm creating a new position, Victoria said, pulling out a folder. Patient care advocate. Someone who walks the floors of hospitals we partner with, observing, noticing what clinical staff might miss because they're overworked and understaffed. Someone with real medical training who understands triage but isn't buried in paperwork and protocols. She slid the folder across the desk to Marcus. The job is yours if you want it. Salary is $85,000 to start. Full benefits. Hours are 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., 4 days a week. You'd be home every night, weekends off. Marcus stared at the paper. That was nearly triple what he made as a janitor. Why? He asked. Why are you doing this? Because my daughter is alive, because you were paying attention. Because I've built a company on the idea that we should value people who actually save lives, not just people who have the right degrees on their wall. Victoria's voice softened. And because I know what it's like to do whatever it takes for your kid. I respect that more than you know. Marcus looked at his supervisor, who nodded encouragingly. You're serious. Completely. There's one condition, though. What's that? Sophia wants to meet you. To thank you herself. Would you be willing? Comment below, would you have taken the job? 2 days later, Marcus walked into Sophia Lansing's hospital room, no longer as a janitor, but as the man who'd saved her life. She was sitting up in bed, still pale but clearly recovering, laptop open, doing homework. 17 years old, her mother's sharp eyes, the kind of teenager who was probably used to getting what she wanted. She looked up when he entered, and her face broke into a genuine smile. You're the janitor. The one who, you saved my life. I just noticed you didn't look right. The doctors did the hard part. The doctors almost let me die. Sophia's voice was matter-of-fact, not angry. I heard the nurses talking. They said I had maybe 20 more minutes before, you know. Marcus pulled up a chair. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck and then someone sewed me back together. But alive, so, that's good. She closed her laptop. My mom told me about you. That you were a combat medic. That you're a single dad. That you were cleaning floors at night to take care of your kid. That's about right. That's really cool, actually. Like, you gave up being a medic, which is clearly what you're good at, to be there for your son. Most adults I know don't even have dinner with their kids. Marcus smiled. Your mom seems pretty devoted to you. Yeah, she is. Now. She wasn't always. Sophia's eyes drifted to the window. She built her company when I was little. I barely saw her for years. She was always working, always traveling, always in meetings. Then my dad died when I was 12, and she realized she was about to lose me too if she didn't change. Sounds like she changed. She did. Completely. Hired a CEO to run daily operations, stepped back to be more involved in my life. But she still carries guilt about those years she wasn't there. Sophia looked back at Marcus. That's why she's hiring you. Because you chose your kid first. She wishes she had. Marcus felt something shift in his understanding of Victoria Lansing. Not just a billionaire offering charity, a mother trying to support another parent who made the choice she didn't. Well, Marcus said, I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I'm glad you're okay. Can I ask you something? Sophia's voice got quieter. When you saw me that night, what exactly did you see? What made you know something was wrong? If you haven't subscribed yet, comment why, because this gets more powerful. Marcus thought about how to explain it. Your lips were turning blue. Just slightly, most people wouldn't notice. Your breathing was fast but shallow, like you couldn't quite get enough air. And your skin, there's this color people get when they're bleeding internally. It's not quite gray, not quite yellow. Just, wrong. I've seen it enough times to recognize it instantly. In Afghanistan? Yeah. IED blasts, gunshot wounds, shrapnel. You learn to do rapid assessments in seconds because you don't have time for anything else. Is this person going to die in the next 5 minutes if I don't act? That's the only question that matters in combat medicine. Sophia was quiet for a moment. How many people did you save? I don't know. Didn't keep count. How many did you lose? Marcus met her eyes. Too many. That's why I stopped. After my son was born, after his mother left, I couldn't. I couldn't keep seeing that and then come home and be a dad. I needed a job where the worst thing that happened was a clogged toilet or a spilled coffee. But you couldn't turn it off. The noticing thing. No. Once you're trained to see those signs, you can't unsee them. I've spotted 3 other potential medical problems in the 2 years I've worked here. Called them in. This is just the first time someone actually thanked me for it. Sophia smiled, a real smile, not the polite one she'd given when he first walked in. Well, I'm thanking you. And not just because my mom's making me. Because I'm 17 and I want to go to college and fall in love and see what my life is supposed to be. And I get to do all that because you were paying attention. You're welcome, Sophia. Marcus started his new job 3 weeks later. Patient care advocate sounded fancy, but the reality was simpler. He walked hospital floors, observed patients, talked to families, and flagged concerns that might get lost in the chaos of understaffed hospitals. In the first 6 months, he identified 12 patients showing early signs of complications that clinical staff had missed. 12 people who got intervention earlier because someone was watching with trained eyes and no other responsibilities. But the job was more than that. He also noticed things like the elderly patient in 408 who wasn't eating because no one realized she couldn't read the menu, cataracts. The teenager in 521 who was showing signs of abuse his doctors attributed to sports injuries. The new mother in 302 who was developing postpartum depression no one had screened for. Things that weren't medical emergencies, but were emergencies nonetheless. Victoria called him once a month for updates. Not as his boss, she wasn't, technically, but as someone who wanted to know if her investment in him was paying off. 12 patients, she said after his 6-month review. 12 people who are alive or healing better because of you. Do you understand what that means? It means I'm doing my job. It means I'm creating 10 more positions like yours. Across 5 hospitals. Training people to do what you do, to see what gets missed. Marcus was stunned. 10 people. It's a pilot program. Patient Care Observation Initiative. If it works, and your results suggest it will, will expand to 50 hospitals nationwide within 2 years. You'd head the training program. Some say healthcare doesn't need more non-doctors. Others say this proves we need people who actually pay attention. What do you think? Drop your opinion. That was 4 years ago. Today, Marcus Webb is the Director of Patient Advocacy for Lansing Biotech's Hospital Partnership Program. He trains former military medics, EMTs, and experienced nurses to work as patient care advocates in 127 hospitals across 22 states. The program has identified over 2,000 critical interventions in 4 years. Complications caught early. Lives saved. Problems solved before they became crises. His son Tyler is 11 now, thriving, and incredibly proud that his dad helped save people without even being a doctor. Sophia Lansing is 21, studying pre-med at Stanford, determined to become an ER physician because a janitor showed her that the most important medical skill isn't knowledge, it's paying attention. And Victoria Lansing still calls Marcus once a month, not for updates anymore, but as a friend. They have coffee. They talk about their kids. They've built something together that's bigger than either of them. You know what the crazy thing is? Victoria said over coffee recently. I've donated millions to medical research, funded entire hospital wings, invested in breakthrough treatments. But the thing I'm most proud of, the thing that's actually saved the most lives, came from noticing a janitor who noticed my daughter. Marcus smiled. You know what the crazy thing is for me? I spent 6 years in Afghanistan watching people die who shouldn't have, came home and became a janitor because I was too broken to keep doing medicine, and ended up saving more lives emptying trash cans than I ever did in a combat zone. Do you miss it? Being a medic? Every day. But I couldn't do it the way it needed to be done and also be Tyler's dad. Your job let me do both. That's everything. Subscribe now, because the real ending will surprise you. Last month, Marcus got a letter. It was from a doctor at Johns Hopkins. A woman he'd never met. She wrote. Mr. Webb, you don't know me, but you trained the patient care advocate at our hospital, David Morrison. Last week, David noticed that my father, who was here recovering from routine surgery, was showing early signs of sepsis that our overworked nursing staff hadn't caught yet. Because of David's intervention, my father is alive. I'm a physician. I've practiced for 20 years. And I almost lost my father because I was too busy looking at charts to look at him. Thank you for training people to do what we doctors forget, to see patients as humans, not just data points. I'm recommending your program to our board of directors. Every hospital needs this. Marcus showed the letter to Tyler that night. Dad, that's so cool. You're making a whole thing. A thing that helps people. Yeah, buddy. I guess I am. Do you think that girl, the one you saved, do you think she remembers you? I don't know. Probably not. It was a long time ago for her. But Marcus was wrong. 2 weeks later, Sophia Lansing published an essay in the Stanford Medical Journal titled, The Janitor Who Taught Me What Doctors Mississippi. In it, she wrote. I was 17 and dying, and the person who saved my life wasn't wearing a white coat. He was holding a mop. He saw what doctors missed because he wasn't blinded by protocols, overwhelmed by workload, or distracted by hierarchy. He just looked at me and knew something was wrong. That's the kind of doctor I want to be. The kind who never stops seeing patients as people. The kind who knows that the janitor might notice something I don't, and listens when he does. The essay went viral in medical education circles. Stanford Medical School now requires all first-year students to spend 1 shift shadowing non-clinical hospital staff, janitors, food service, transport, to learn what patients look like to people who see them differently than doctors do. They call it the Marcus Webb Observation Hour. Marcus didn't know about any of this until Victoria forwarded him the article. You changed medicine, she wrote. Not with research or drugs or surgery. With attention. With giving a damn. That's the real miracle. The lesson here isn't that janitors are better than doctors. They're not. Doctors have knowledge and skills that save lives every single day. The lesson is that titles don't determine value. A combat medic who became a janitor was still a combat medic, he just needed a job with different hours. And when the moment came, his training, his eyes, his refusal to ignore what he saw mattered more than anyone's credentials. The lesson is that people don't stop being who they are just because their job title changes. Marcus didn't stop being a medic when he started cleaning floors. He just found a way to use those skills in the margins, in the moments between emptying trash cans. And when one billionaire mother chose to see what he saw, to value what he noticed, it created a ripple effect that's still expanding. 127 hospitals. 2,000 lives. Medical students learning to listen to janitors. All because one man with a mop refused to walk past a teenager who didn't look right.